Zilliqa. So thank you all for coming on a rainy Wednesday evening to spend this time with Zilliqa. And we're really happy to be hosting this event. It's supported by our very kind office venue, The Bridge, Amazon Web Services, and also in conjunction with Ethereum Singapore. So today we're going to be live streaming the event, and we're also going to be live tweeting the event. So if you're actually here and if you're on Twitter, you can also join us by tweeting to the hashtag. So the hashtag is actually hashtag Zilliqa 23rd of May. So we encourage everyone who's here, who has Twitter, to actually tweet what's happening. The official account is also going to be tweeting at the same time. Okay, and so just to kick off today's event, we're going to start off with The Bridge. As some of you may know, Zilliqa is basically based at The Bridge. It's a co-working space, and they're trying to develop themselves as a blockchain hub. So first of all, very happy to have Eugene, Director of The Bridge, to say a few words. Eugene, please.
Thank you. So when she says that The Bridge is an office venue, I was thinking, hey, yeah, maybe I should take some time to share with you what The Bridge is, right? For those who don't know, Ascendant Sing Bridge is a real estate developer in Singapore. So in Singapore, we have Science Park, and so Ascend is just one of the first buildings that we redeveloped this place. So what happens is that we will be redeveloping the entire Science Park, and hopefully over the next 20 years, you get a lot of more cool buildings that will be coming up, and it will be a destination for all the top innovative companies that will land themselves here. So as The Bridge, we are also a subsidiary under Ascendant Sing Bridge. Our core focus is really to build cool, flexible workspaces for the new companies or the new generation companies, right? And really, this is really our first office that we have prototyped, and there will be many more in China and India that will be coming up. So so what happens is that after Zilliqa came, we have a couple of other blockchain companies that also come as a result, of this, this by accident or maybe like-minded people actually come together in this blockchain community. So we have like Long Hash, and we also have Neo Capital. And what we are saying is that, if we can make Science Park, right, a destination for all the top blockchain companies to be here, I think this will really be a very, very good place that, the top blockchain companies can come together, work together, learn together, and make this place a very progressive environment for everyone to succeed. So we are very pleased to, to have a sharing session like from Zilliqa to share a little bit about what more they are doing in the blockchain space. 2 months ago, we had Vitalik coming over here to also share a little bit about what they do. And I think what is going to happen in the next couple of months is that we are going to host a lot of blockchain-related events. And we hope that everyone in the blockchain community will be interested and will find these activities useful, and over time may want to set up something in this area. So for those who are interested in setting up an office space here or do some community events with us, feel free to just approach Zilliqa or even approach any one of us and see what we can do together. With that, I'd like to hand it over to...
Thank you, Eugene. Thank you, Eugene. And so, if you're interested, if you're a blockchain firm looking to actually set up in Singapore, you can consider The Bridge and be a neighbor to Zilliqa. So second, I'd like to invite Chairman of the Board of Zilliqa, Juzar Motiwala, to give a few words. So I have to introduce Juzar, and because his list of accomplishments are kind of long, I had no choice, but I have to write them down. So I'm just going to refer to this. Okay, so Juzar is Chairman of the Board of Zilliqa, and he was also CEO of the largest computer science lab in Singapore in the past. Was very active in venture capital. Also president of the Singapore Computer Society, and was a board member of what is IMDA today. So without further ado, Juzar to say a few words about Zilliqa. Thank you.
Welcome to the emerging crypto hub in Science Park. And for those of you who are not from Singapore, have flown in for this event, welcome to the emerging crypto hub in Singapore. Zilliqa is definitely one of those that's powering this future. Now, what I wanted to do, my colleagues are going to tell you a little more about some of the accomplishments, some of the many accomplishments that we have had in the last few months. And they're going to tell you where we're going and engage in you in a dialogue here and outside. And I think there'll be a lot of interesting things that you'll hear today. But what I wanted to do was to kind of frame this experience that we're having. I wanted to talk a little bit about our roots, about our aspirations. And this is very much a part of going backstage as well. I wanted to introduce the team to you. And so that's kind of my role today. So the roots are going to be, I think, an exciting journey. And I hope that we are going to have fun when we get to that end of the journey. Now, Zilliqa was born in a cauldron of innovation. That cauldron ran fiery, bright, blazing red at the National University of Singapore in Pratik Saxena's lab, and also at a corporate lab, Anchuan, where commercialization of these innovations took place. We're now moving on to the roots of Zilliqa. So that cauldron that we talk about, all startups have the proverbial garage that they came from. In our case, that garage was a small, secluded, sparse room where a number of us gathered at a far end of a place called Pasir Panjang, at one end of the university. And the people huddled there were people like Pratik, Sinshu, Yauchi, Amrit, Junhao, Max, and Antonio. So all of us cramped in this small little room, conspiring to see how the potential power of Zilliqa could change the crypto world. Now, one of the things that we discovered very quickly was that while we had interesting goals that we set for ourselves, we wanted to make sure that this entity that we were creating was a credible one, a respectable one, a legitimate one. And very soon we found out that our values were common. And these are deep values that will remain with Zilliqa as we go forward. First of all, a respect for the community. Second, a joy in scientific exploration that works. And the third is integrity in all of our dealings. Those were critical values that we started with. We said we will accelerate, but no shortcuts. Now, our goal is very simple. We're in a race. There is an emerging set of high throughput applications that are going to come about, and we believe we have the technology that can power that. That's our goal, and we're shooting for that. Now, we move from a seed to a plant very quickly in a few months. Today, we are truly Singapore-made unicorn. We have a $1 billion crypto valuation today, and we're very fortunate from the community that has engaged with us, a market that is confident with us. But the key thing is this is the first Singapore-made crypto unicorn. Now, we cannot be successful without engaging the ecosystem. The ecosystem that is so rich in the crypto world. As we said, there is a crypto hub and there are many, many people involved in that. And every time we peep out, there is a new set that we have to engage with, and we look forward to that. We worked with investors, and we are very fortunate to have an amazing set of investors that continue to work with us and help us and have common aspirations with us. We have peeped out and said, oh my, there are all these exchanges that we need to work with. We're very fortunate again. We're now listed on some of the topmost exchanges in the world. And we're also ready to work with aspiring new decentralized exchanges. We want to work with the established ones, and we want to, just like ourselves, being an upstart, we want to work with upstarts as well. Next on the list, we will be working with the miners. Traditional miners and individual miners, upstart miners, we want to reach out. We're ready to now start talking to all of them. We have some preliminary work that we've put together on cost benefits and so on, and we'd like to go through that with them. Now, there are two constituencies that are very critical in any crypto success. First of all is the deep talent pool that we have. We're in the process of extending that. We have a very flat structure and the community. Now, the talent pool that we have continued to absorb, and everyone becomes part of this flat structure in Zilliqa, is a diverse one. And I wanted to quickly kind of go through some of the people who might be in the room here. And we've recruited some people, some people have joined us who have really enriched us. Of course, Enwei is one of them. She's going to talk about what she's doing in business development. She came from JP Morgan. We also have recently had a new person joining us, Mihi Park, if she's here somewhere. She's over there, Mihi. And Mihi is our new CFO. She ran Asia Pacific for a very large conglomerate out of Europe, and she ran the whole Asia Pacific operations as their CFO, and we're very glad to have her join us. And we have a whole set of people that are, as I say, backstage but integrated to, and when you see the accomplishments, a part of them. So we've got Saiba over there. Who else? Delhi is around. Delhi is there. We've got Haichuan over there. We've got, and the person who has orchestrated all this, getting the diversity in our recruitment, Jen. Where is Jen? He's around somewhere, probably. And who else? There's probably one or two more people that I don't want to miss out. So that's, now, the other critical thing is the community. That's our bedrock. From the beginning, what we have discovered is the amazing, mature community that has worked with us, that has strengthened us, that has provided us with a lot of inspiration and have challenged us on numerous times. And we expect that to continue to happen. Some of you in the community are here today. Some of you are on YouTube, and I'll kind of do a wave to you out there, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for your support. And of course, that plant that I talked about, we needed someone who could help nurture that plant. And we need to have that person who can now drive into the future. And there was only one person who fit that bill, and that person is the one who's going to come on next, is our CEO, Sinshu Dong.
Thank you, Jiza. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming to this event. And I am very excited to start sharing some of the latest updates for the Zilliqa project. But I think more importantly today, we are going to share some thoughts going ahead. How are we going to drive the greater adoption of Zilliqa so that you can think through all these questions along with us. We take on the challenges together. We walk the journey as one Zilliqa community. The problem Zilliqa addresses is called scalability. So this is about how many transactions a blockchain can process. So for example, on today's popular blockchain platforms, about 7 to, let's say, 15 transactions can be processed every second on average. And on the other hand, we do have applications that require much higher throughput. And more recently, we see decentralized games becoming more popular. We have kitties, we have farms, we have shrimps. So these games are also pushing up the gas fees because the entire Ethereum network becomes more congested. So this scalability problem is what Zilliqa was born to address. In 2017, we had a mission. We think we want to solve this problem by building the world's first fast and secure blockchain. Because we believe we got the right technology, we assembled a small but great team. And we sort of trialed these ideas on commercial deployments in the private blockchain settings. So we had this dream. We want to build a blockchain that is not just fast, in terms of how many transactions it can process every second, but also very secure. So that means a few nodes will not be able to compromise the record. And then a few attackers will not be able to completely change the history recorded on the blockchain. So we also want the blockchain to be still very decentralized. So that's the original spirit of the Bitcoin. So we want to build the world's first blockchain that achieves both scalability and security at the same time. That was last year. And this year, in 2018, we are delivering Zilliqa. So now Zilliqa becomes more concrete because we have our source code released in January. We have our first public testnet released by the end of March, and it's getting improvement. So this is actually the first working implementation of a fast and secure blockchain powered by Sharding. Our head of technology, Yao Qi, is going to demonstrate to you today in action what is the power of Sharding. But this is Zilliqa you are seeing today. So this is where we are. We are ranked number 25 in terms of market cap. So we are, over $1 billion US. Of course, before today, the market started to crash. But this is roughly where we are. I would not call this as an accomplishment yet, but I think this is the recognition and encouragement from the general community of the blockchain space, because people do share that, we have a great vision and we are delivering what we promised. So let's give a big thanks to our community members. I think they are just awesome. They are very special. They are unique in this space. The numbers listed here do not really matter because the tremendous amount of support, help, and encouragement we have received so far from our community members just can't be numbered. And on the other hand, we really have a great team. I always tell people, there is no founder in Zilliqa. We had a few co-founders, but more importantly, we kept having great people joining the team one after another. So this team has been working tirelessly with the dedication and the focus of one mission. So this mission has never changed. We are building the first go-to platform for any high throughput and high security decentralized applications. So this is the Zilliqa we are delivering. So number one is we have to get the technology right. This is the basis for everything. So we made sharding work. We brought sharding to life. You can go to our testnet. This is the first working implementation of sharding. So network sharding works. And beyond sharding, we also bring several other technologies to make our consensus process much faster and secure. So these are sort of the things we made right in terms of technology. And as a result, we are getting almost a linearly growing throughput when your network expands. That means when Zilliqa in future gets more and more popular, we have the potential to support higher and higher throughput in the meanwhile. And we started as a small team in Singapore, as Juza introduced. But our mission is really global. We want to provide the international platform for any DApps anywhere in the world to be able to build on top of Zilliqa. So that's why we have visited several cities in different continents, in different countries. So this is also your quiz question. I don't know whether you'll get it right. And there's another good piece of information I would like to share with you today. We are in the process of setting up our UK office, which will be based in London, and that will have a much better coverage for the European market to drive adoption there. We are also fortunate to have some recognition by good media. We have mainstream media, we have good crypto media, who are sort of helping us spread the word out about how cool Zilliqa is and how useful it is for decentralized applications. And we are fortunate to have major crypto exchanges listing us. So this is about spreading the word out about Zilliqa to future potential adopters. And I would like to happily announce that there will be 2 new exchanges listing Zilliqa from tomorrow. One is Dex.top. It's an incubated project by Bitman. So this is a new generation decentralized exchange, which will provide a much better user experience in terms of trading. And another exchange is called Corebit. So Corebit is actually the first crypto exchange established in South Korea. And Zilliqa will be the first ERC20 token listed by this exchange. So we are getting more popular, and people really share the same vision with us. They think Zilliqa is really going to change the space. And looking ahead, we have a very exciting technical roadmap. By the end of next month, we are going to release our second version of the testnet, which will have the functionality of the Scylla smart contract. And Amrit actually is going to share with you today what is Scylla about, why this is a big deal. And then by the end of the third quarter, we will have our mainnet released. So before that, we'll do some thorough testing to make sure that things will be right. And around the time when we are going to release our mainnet, we also want to release several critical applications. So Mindshare, of course, is one of them. So these applications will serve as sort of these examples to help people think about what are the new applications that can be enabled by Zilliqa, which do not exist today. And so sort of these are the short-term goals for 2018. But there are also other important research problems, more challenging problems that we are also going to solve in the year to come. For example, how do we make sure transactions will be secure, data will be protected? And how are we going to interoperate with different blockchains out there, which obviously have their own strengths? And then how do we solve this growing storage needs when we have thousands of transactions every second? So these are sort of the challenging problems we are also going to work on in 2019. So just a very quick recap where we are. We are getting thousands of transactions a second, which is 100 times faster than today's blockchains. There are several interesting projects that have already announced to be building on top of Zilliqa. So G-Man is going to share with us the initiative. We are going to work very closely with Mindshare. It's going to be very different. It's going to change the entire landscape of digital advertising. And immediate is a new initiative to use the blockchain technology to revolutionize the insurtech space. And NuoCoin wants to be the first Sharia-compliant payment system to help people to make payments for their journeys to the Middle East, for example. And on that hand, we are also glad to have very strong technical partners from Bluezel and Gennaro. They are going to work with us very closely to have very efficient distributed storage for a high-throughput blockchain like Zilliqa. So with that, I'm going to hand over the mic to my colleague, En Hui. She's our head of business development. She's going to share with us some of these initiatives. We are starting to work very closely with corporations, with thought leaders, and to drive the adoption with different ideas.
Thank you, Sinshu. So when I took up this job of business development at Zilliqa, to be honest, I didn't quite know what it meant. I used to do traditional business development in finance, and that means, you kind of know who your clients are, you kind of know what the job scope is, and then I came into blockchain, and suddenly it's like, what exactly is business development in the blockchain space? And to be honest, nobody knows. But what I tried to do here is, I tried to put a roadmap as to how we're actually going to drive adoption for Zilliqa. And I think I can sort of categorize it into three main different themes. Okay, so the first one is really through corporations. And what this means is, getting corporations interested in the blockchain, as well as building interesting applications on top of the blockchain. The second one is really how do we encourage people, it could be corporations, it could be individuals, to actually build on top of the Zilliqa platform. So here we're going to announce in a little while how we're going to actually grow the Zilliqa ecosystem. And the third one is really, in order to be the platform of choice, we really have to capture mindshare, we have to be a thought leader, and we have to really stay on top of developments that are actually happening in the space. So to this end, we have sort of three large categories, and we are making progress on all three of them. I'll be very happy to share a bit more on that. So starting off firstly with corporations. So we're very pleased to have with us today Mindshare. So we have Gauthaman R, more fondly known as, I'm told, G-Man, who is the Chief Development Officer at Mindshare. And he'll be sharing with us his vision for blockchain, and particularly in the space of digital advertising. So G-Man, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Zuza. Thanks, Zinshu. Yeah, so I'm not a technical person, so I'm just going to dive straight into our business and how this technology is going to help us in the field of media and advertising. Just to set the context, I just want to pause for a minute and give you a sense of how this entire business of database management evolved. It's critical because from advertising point of view, from the time when this industry came up into action, we were always been using relational databases. I mean, some of you might not even know some of these things, but we were, when I got into this industry, we were focusing more on RDBMS, object-oriented databases, and at best, integrating XML, right? So that's because our industry was not getting into digital that much. And around 2000, when the internet exploded with intermediaries like Google and Facebook and others came into the picture, we started moving into having databases which is more structured and unstructured as well. And that's when we started moving into things like Hadoop, SQL, and NoSQL and new SQL, which probably you guys know better than me because I was belonging to this part of the world. But what's happening now is with the emergence of Internet of Things and real-time applications and other stuff, we believe this entire business of database management will move further into distributed ledgers and what Forrester calls as translytical data platforms. It is important to get a context of this, which is why we believe from our business why blockchain technology is important to us. If you look at what are translytical data platforms, it's predominantly about the way real-time applications work. All of us at least have more than 30, 40 apps that's running in our phones. We almost become device dependent. And as we move further with Google Homes and Siris and Cortanas and others, the IoTs and the sensors comes in as well. And that continues to stream incredible amount of databases. And they are flowing all through the day and the night. And the industry is now trying to connect all these data sets, which is much more than what we normally use as traditional structured data streams. And we are also moving further into artificial intelligence and machine learning of other technologies to connect these sets. So the future, we believe from the way we believe as in the business of media and advertising, where we recommend clients where to spend the money and how much to spend the money on search, social, and mobile applications. We are now struggling to come to terms with the number of databases and data sets we are using. And it's a never-ending problem. At every day, we are now trying to understand the journey of a consumer from the time he wants to see an ad and he goes to make a purchase. It's no longer linear. It's very, very confusing. Half the time we don't even know where he is doing what. So we believe that distributed ledger technology is what will be the future for our business, where we are able to manage both structured and unstructured databases. And that comes with its own problem, because at one end, distributed ledger helps you with secure, transparent, and reliable and autonomous kind of structures. It has its own problem in terms of disconnected taxonomy. Not all databases are uniform. We're not able to map two sets of databases from Google and Facebook and any of the websites. They are in different infrastructures. Different organizations have different kind of systems and protocols. There is no standards at this point of time. So we believe, therefore, if we have to bring this entire advertising ecosystem into one particular platform, distributed ledger is probably the one thing to start with, which we believe is the future. So the way we see this, for our business, these are the four elements here. The one on the top here is conventional Microsoft Excel data sets, which all of us are very used to. And we want to move to a ledger where all the systems come and interact with each other. And once we have that, we will secure it through some kind of a cryptographic technology, which is where blockchain technology comes in. And hopefully, our industry in our business tries to come to terms with the consensus protocol you all talk about. I mean, Zinshu talked about PBFT. There are debates about whether proof of work works or proof of stake works or PBFT works in our business, which is what we want to pilot at Zilliqa to see if any one of those consensus protocol is relevant for a business. So from an advertising business point of view, we want to move across this journey from left to right to cross to here to give this industry consensus, provenance, and immutability. So what we are doing with Zilliqa, if I were to give you a sense, typically from an advertiser point of view, a client, we are here as a media agency, we speak to a trading desk, and they have a demand side platform, and the client uses a data management platform. Then we go to an exchange, they go to a supply side platform, and then it goes to a publisher. So it's a long value chain from the time a client wants to release an ad, and an ad you guys see on any one of those websites. So if a client wants to spend $1, eventually he only gets half a cent worth of advertising, because in each stage we are trying to put some technology to make things happen. At this point of time, this technology is worth, I'll just come back to the chart 1 second, is, oh, the chart is not there. Okay. Sure. It's fine. So it 35 billion on top, right? So it's roughly around 35 billion worth of business that is being transacted across this thing. And today, quite a few companies across the world are getting into through the blockchain technology. And what they're trying to do is across these three things here. There are companies wanting to use this technology to see if the content is authentic or not. Is the content, are we putting ads against fake news, or is the content genuine? Somebody is trying to see if the entire process can be reconciled faster in terms of payment. Some other technology companies are trying to see if an agency can be audited for the process. Another company is trying to do supply chain reconciliation. So slowly, our industry is trying to see this as a 35 billion opportunity, And there are quite a few pilots that is running across in the US and the UK. And we believe we can work with Zilliqa and doing some of these things for our business as well. So I'm just going to show you some examples of this. In the US, there is a company called AdChain. What they do is they have token curated registries where almost all the websites, they become the nodes. They form a consortium, and they say, take each website as a candidate. And if a website is good and accepted as a listee, they claim through the nodes to say, this particular website is bad. And then the consensus built around amongst the consortium decides that this website should be treated as a fault website and will not be used for advertising. So I'm just going to show you a screen grab of what they do. This is as of yesterday, I think. So these are the websites who are now part of the consortium. And let's take, for example, history.com as a website. What it shows is that it has challenged another website in the consortium to be faulty. And 3 days, 9 hours, 43 minutes is the time since it's been challenged. Withnet, the richest.com, and basic attention token org has resolved a dispute, and they revealed which is the fake site, and then that's going to be put down. So it's a start of a group of publishers coming together to clean up its ecosystem through a blockchain methodology to say whether this particular website is good or bad. There's another company which is now trying to consolidate all the mobile applications together. They're called the exchange only for devices beyond Facebook and Google. So they have combined all these applications, and now they're going to use another similar blockchain technology. They are also trying to use PBFT to see if they can create an open market of 2.5 billion users across the world who can be advertised synchronously across multiple companies that you can see on the left side. Comcast has assembled and partnered with Disney and with NBC, where they will share data amongst the various partners, and they're trying to create what they call as a blockchain insights platform, which helps to understand consumers and audiences a lot better so that they can sell this information in the era of privacy and GDPR regulations without any concerns on privacy. So they match the audiences, they secure the information amongst themselves, and it can be sold for people like us to plan audiences. So I just gave you an example of 3 different routes which this technology is now being piloted, one for audience planning, one for a consortium, and one for cleaning up fake news and content. So Google is not stopping it as well. This is the news which was released a couple of days back, 22nd March, that they are going to have their own blockchain technology, which predominantly is going to focus on their own cloud. So they see this technology as well to ensure that the privacy is protected, and they'll probably have this as their own backbone. Facebook is not far off. They have their own blockchain division, which is going to focus on privacy and identity mapping. So if you look at it, Google, Facebook, all the publishers, a consortium of applications, so you know where it is going. So this technology is slowly getting into media and advertising business, which is why we believe that as Mindshare, and we are the leading media agency across the world, we have a lot of blue chip clients, and we manage MNCs with 52 offices across 200 cities. So we are working with Zilliqa to see what we can do with this technology in the business of advertising. So what we are trying to do is to create a kind of a full value chain on the back of Zilliqa's technology, where we can get audience understanding, can try to do smart contracting, where we can connect all these publishers and partners together, and including publisher curation, like what you saw and from the AdChain registry. So what we want to do is, this particular thing is fragmented, so I can skip this at this point of time. So we are in stage 1, where we're trying to create an universal ledger. Then we'll move into a throughput verification, whether it is possible or not through the speed at which these transactions happen. Hopefully, we should get into some kind of a native alliance token amongst the group of industries. So what we do is, as I explained to you across the value chain, we have spoken to almost all of them in these stages. It took more than 2-3 months to explain to them that this is not going to disintermediate their business. It's going to help them a lot better. So we have identified one leading trading desk, one leading SSP, and one leading verification partner to come on board as our pilot partner. And so we should be able to announce it in the next couple of weeks who they are, but we couldn't do it today, but it's fine. Along with this partner, what we want to do is to really test the system. We test the way transactions from an advertiser to the consumer across the trading desk, the supply side platform, and the verification partner, and the throughput challenge as well, to see if we can indeed handle so many transactions per second and see if the consortium can come together. And hopefully we should be able to use the next 3 months to test it, to say that yes, this technology indeed works on our business of media and advertising. And if we do that, probably we will be the first in the industry, because many of them are trying to do this with the same or similar timelines between October, November and December. So if we get this, it should be good for us to see as being ahead of the industry at this point of time. Yeah, so that's it from me. Thanks.
Thank you, G-Man. As you know, in terms of my business development, one of the key markets for us in Asia has been Japan, because of its very friendly regulations towards blockchain in general. And they're also one of the countries that have actually legalized Bitcoin as a form of currency. I'm happy to bring on our next speaker. It's Christoph Bergdorfer, who is an emerging technologies consultant at Infoteria. A bit of introduction on who Infoteria are. They are listed on the first section of the Tokyo Stock Exchange, technology software company. And in addition, they're also the chair of the first blockchain consortium in Japan with over 200 affiliate members. We're very happy to say that in terms of outreach in the Japanese market, they will be assisting Zilliqa in reaching out to more corporations. Without further ado, Chris from Infoteria.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Zilliqa, for having us here. I'm glad to be here and talk to you about blockchain in Japan and also potential future use cases of a high throughput blockchain. First, a little bit about us. We set up our company in 1998, 20 years ago, and we started with creating software that converts different file formats into each other. As N already mentioned, nowadays we're a global company with offices in Tokyo, here in Singapore, in China, in London, and in Seattle as well. What we do is basically we take inputs, applications that do input and output, and we connect them together in a very easy to handle way. We're the market leader in Japan since 10 years for application integrations. Last year, we acquired a company, a user experience and design company called Displays in London. And I was the technical director there. And a part of being a user experience and design company means also exploring new technologies and how users interact with those new technologies. So we take part in an international hackathon in London about blockchain in insurance space, which we gladly won, as you can see. And what we built was very simple. It was a smart contract-based, fully automated insurance where you can basically insure outdoor events against rain. Right? So we create a smart contract, you pay in a premium, which is calculated based on the weather forecast from APIs, completely automated, and then when you're at the event and it rains and you prove that you are at the event and you are affected by this, basically the claim process is fully automated and you get the money back plus whatever is in the insurance pool. So we built that, and but besides that, we also did a lot of commercial projects with blockchain as well, proof of concepts mainly. And we were the first company that did, record ledgers of micropayments in a bank officially in Myanmar in 2016. Last year, we had our shareholder votings based on blockchain of our company. And in 2018, this year, we're working with two companies, with the third largest utility company in Japan called Chubu, and a company called Natuya, who basically creates charging stations for cars. And we're using blockchain technology to track that. These are the current projects that we work on. Now, I'm talking a little bit about the timeline in Japan. So, as we know, Satoshi Nakamoto is a Japanese name, which I believe helped a lot in being a very popular topic in Japan. Of course, Mt. Gox launched in 2010, and by 2014, it was basically 70% of all transactions would go through Mt. Gox. We know what happened in 2014, but what happened is it put the topic of Bitcoin, at least, to the media, but we felt it had a really big effect on a negative image on Bitcoin. So we thought we need to basically create something and make a distinction and explain that this is not about Bitcoin, about currency necessarily. It's about the technology and the power for good that this technology has, which is why we set up the Blockchain Collaborative Consortium together with 33 other companies in Japan. Our CEO is also the chairman of this consortium, and our main goals is to educate, for example, developers and the general public, but also companies and a little bit also regulators and the government. And as N already mentioned before, in 2017, Japan made this really progressive move of making virtual currencies part of an official means of payment, but it also started to regulate exchanges very much, which is a very important step moving forward. In April 2017, we also started to issue a private token which is tied to the Japanese yen called Zen, and this basically allowed us within a private network to exchange tokens of value between. So by now we have over 200 members and we're growing very strong. So what are we doing? We're organizing lots of events. In February, we did one about the Bitcoin testnet. In March, we had R3 Corda over. In April, we talked about Ethereum. And what is very important for us is that people also understand that it's not just about cryptocurrency. It goes much further than that. So we held a contest in this month about non-cryptocurrency applications of blockchain, which was won by this team who created basically an application that allows you to record time and place on a public ledger. So you can always verify who was where at any given time. So in terms of the future, we believe the future of technology is 4D. What does that mean? There's 4 Ds that drive in which way the future is going. Number 1 is devices, which includes IoT devices, connected devices, even self-driving cars in the future. The second D is data. How can you collect data? How can you make sense of data and reuse it and make meaning from it? Then the third D is decentralization, very much in line with the nature of the internet. And the fourth D is about design and user experience. It's very important. It's becoming increasingly important as competition in software is increasing. The user experience has to be really right. So I'm going to talk to you about how high throughput, high performance blockchains will be relevant for 2 of those items. One is devices, IoT, and one is about the design and user experience. So in the future, we will have a lot of sensors that are sensing the world, especially also in production. We believe that there will be data gathering. We will need to gather data and verify the data and validate the data, for example, of sensors that track quality of products in the production or measurements and verify that the quality is all up to standard. The second big thing that's happening is, of course, the data is increasing more and more. So we will have audio and video data. We have image data that needs to be processed. For that, we also will need blockchains that are able to cope with this increased amount of data. And then the third thing is, for example, authentication has to be very quick when we use blockchain for authentication in the future. We can't wait around for things to happen, especially as IoT devices start to communicate with each other automatically. So there we will need a very strong high throughput blockchains. Now, the second thing that I wanted to talk about is also user experience and design. So we all know these icons. They are, in fact, the biggest enemies of a great user experience, as we know. And maybe you remember, some of you, hands up, who remembers search engines before Google? Do you remember search engines? That's when you start to search, and it's 5 seconds, searching, 10 seconds, searching, and then you get the results, right? And then Google came along in 1999. You press the button, bang, the result was there. Great user experience, everybody changed. And I believe, or we believe, that we are currently living in a pre-Google blockchain area where you have to wait for everything to be mined, so to speak. And now with Zilliqa, we would be able to, in the future, have more instant blockchain technology and access to that. And this will have a tremendous impact on user experience and design. So as a conclusion, we have been working with the testnet. We really liked what we saw so far. We really enjoyed working with it, and we are following very closely what Zilliqa is doing, so we can then, when it comes out of the test phase, integrate it into our ecosystem and promote it alongside. So stay tuned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris from Infoteria. So, I was talking about my business development approach, and I said that this is a completely new arena that nobody really knows what to do about. So the first prong I felt was really about how we actually drive adoption through corporations. And the second part is really how are we going to grow the ecosystem, because corporations is one aspect of it, but at the same time, we're also going to try and drive adoption ourselves. And so I'm very happy to announce here that we're launching the first phase of a grant system for people to actually build applications as well as tools on top of Zilliqa. Okay, so just to clarify, this is a 5 million first phase grant, and by grant, this is not actually an investment in any of these projects that may build on Zilliqa. This is non-dilutive funding, and we kind of have a wish list in terms of what we hope to see on Zilliqa in the early phases. So I've listed a couple of them here. So one is actually games. It's decentralized exchanges. We also feel that things like stable coins are going to be quite important. And we're also looking for interesting ideas. I'm sure there are a lot of very creative people out there, anywhere in the world. If you're actually looking to build a decentralized application or to actually build tools for the Zilliqa platform, please do apply. We're going to be announcing more details as to how you can actually apply and be among the very first few to actually launch on the Zilliqa platform. And the third prong of how we're going to actually reach out to people. Now, this is really about thought leadership. And what I mean by thought leadership is, as a lot of you know, we came from research backgrounds, and we have been doing a lot in this field. So, for example, one of the initiatives that we have started supporting is actually this blockchain technical reading group. It happens every alternate Thursday at our office. And in these sessions, essentially what people do is you have to read 3 research papers, and you have to come and discuss certain topics. And what we're hoping to do is really to drive the technical levels of people, especially for those who are interested in the blockchain technology. So this new initiative, it's an independent initiative. It's not focused just on scalability issues, for example. It's really looking at the entire blockchain landscape in terms of keeping up with the developments. And this also helps us to get a better feel of what's trending and what sort of applications we actually want on Zilliqa. And then the other thing that we're going to announce is that we're going to be launching global hackathons. A lot of you may have heard of Zilliqa, but we're trying to reach out to more developers across the globe, not just in Singapore, not just in Asia, but really across the globe. And we're going to be announcing that this hackathons will be done in conjunction with a partner that has a community, a very large community of developers, particularly in the area of smart contracts. Okay, so stay tuned for the news. This is coming in June. So just to recap, my three-pronged approach to how we're going to drive adoption at Zilliqa. So the first one is through corporations. Very happy, G-Man shared earlier. This is on the Mindshare initiative, and this pilot will also be bringing on additional partners on both the supply as well as the demand side and advertising. We also have Infoterra that will be helping us with outreach in the Japanese market. The second prong, really about our new grant system, so non-dilutive funding for anyone that's looking to build interesting applications on top of the Zilliqa platform. And the last one on thought leadership, how we want to stay ahead of the competition, stay aware of the developments in this space, and also global hackathons that will be kickstarting starting from next month with a partner in the area of smart contracts. So, we've had a lot of presentations today. The other thing I want to remind everybody is that, if you're watching this and you're on Twitter, please hashtag Zilliqa 23rd May. Keep the hashtags coming. Keep the tweets coming. And I'm going to hand over next to Yao Qi, who is Head of Technology at Zilliqa. And he's going to be doing a demonstration. He's going to be showing us, what the team has been really busy with in terms of the testnet and some of the new features that he hopes to introduce soon. So over to Yao Qi.
Oh, cool. Hello, everyone. Now is the time for sharding, and also I want to update you with you some new results. And first, I'm Yao Qi, the head of technology at Zilliqa. And together with our tech team, basically Clark, Haichuan, Deli, Junhao, and also Costa, Sahai, together with Vivasvata, of course, Amrate. We've been working day and night to build this amazing testnet to implement this first sharding technology. So as you know, Zilliqa is well known for its sharding technology. So what's sharding, and what's the concept of sharding? So in Zilliqa, we built the first network sharding. So idea that, so right now we have like 20,000 nodes, and basically we can divide these nodes into different group of nodes, and which we call shards. And after that, we also distribute the transactions from the network collected from different users and wallets. And we distribute these transactions into different shards. And then different shards can process and run consensus protocols on different set of transactions. This is what we call transaction sharding. And with this concept of divide and conquer, we can achieve the scalability, robustness, and also openness. So next, I will show you some demo videos of our testnet. And first, I will show you this amazing scalability. Basically, scalability for Zilliqa is not equivalent to high throughput. Scalability for us means high throughput at the same time, so we can achieve higher TPS with more nodes join the network. And second, I will also show you this robustness, because sometimes these old nodes in the network, they may leave the system, and some new nodes also want to join the system. So we need to handle these different cases. That is robustness. And lastly, Zilliqa is a public blockchain. And in the future, we welcome all the community members and the miners to join our system and mine the tokens. So first, it is the scalability. As you know, Zilliqa can scale with the network size increases. So what kind of scalability? Here I show you this demo video, and the baseline is basically one shard. And with the one shard, we have 200 nodes. And as you can see at the beginning, it's around 400 transactions per second. And once we have more nodes in the network, let's say we double the size of the network and we have one more shard, we can achieve nearly 1,000 transactions per second. And once we have 4 times of the number of shards, we can actually achieve around 2,000 transactions per second. And how about 6 shards? Then we can achieve 2,800 transactions per second. Basically, you can see Zilliqa can achieve nearly the linear scalability. At the same time, you may use your laptop, especially these Windows. Sometimes, due to various reasons, your laptop may go offline, especially you may got this blue screen. At the same time, you may also have this outage of electricity. Then your machines or even miners, they may go offline. So what can we handle this kind of situation for Zilliqa network? From this demo, you can see that at the beginning, we have 1,000 nodes in the network, and gradually we queue some of these nodes. And as you can see, now we have only around 800 nodes. However, our system can still run as normal. So there's no issue, even some nodes go offline in our system. So we can provide this robustness for our testnet. And further, I think most of our community members, especially the miners and the supporters who know Zilliqa, they want to join Zilliqa as the nodes or miners in the future. And for our testnet, for the current version, actually we can provide this openness for the nodes. That means in the future, when new nodes want to join this system, you can join it smoothly. From this video, you can see at the beginning we have 1 shard, and gradually we join some new nodes from our testnet, and then you can see there are over 600 nodes in the system, and our system can still run properly. So talk is cheap, and experiments are so expensive. From this image, you can see that basically we run our testnet with occupying over 7,000 nodes in AWS. And as you can see, all these dots on the screen are the machines we occupied. We run multiple testnets in parallel to show that to improve the stability and also to get the other features for the testnet. It's quite unique for Zilliqa because as I know a lot of projects, they may run some nodes, 10 nodes or even 100 nodes. But for most of these ICU projects, they haven't run this over 1,000 nodes testnet. But for us, to show this scalability, we want to run more nodes, and in the future, we will have more results for you. As you can see, we've implemented these 3 features: scalability, robustness, and also this openness. In the future, what kind of new features we can provide? Here, I will basically leak some information for you. First, the mining. Basically, we will allow these new nodes from the public to join our testnet. And at the same time, we will also provide these test tokens for the miners. Further, in the future, we will also support this new smart contract. And next, I want to handle the microphone to our head of research, Amrit, and he will show you our new efficient and secure smart contract language, Scylla. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to talk about smart contracts now. Essentially, we are going to talk about Scylla, a language that we're developing at Zilliqa. And we believe that Scylla is a safe smart contract language. And we are building this especially for Zilliqa. So let me, before I jump into the details of how Scylla looks like and what exactly it can do, let me first talk about why the safety and security of smart contract is important in the first place. And the story starts from here, essentially. So smart contracts are very vulnerable to an extent where there was an incident, there was a contract which is called DAO, and an attacker was able to attack this contract and was able to steal around $60 million from this contract. And as a result of this event, Ethereum forked into Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. So that was not the only an isolated incident. A couple of months ago, another incident happened with a famous multi-sig wallet called Parity, where there was an attacker who, maybe willingly or unwillingly and unintentionally, was able to kill that contract. And killing means that he destroyed the entire code of the contract and was able to freeze around $300 million. So you can see that there's $300 million in the contract, but you won't be able to take that out. What a pity. So the problem is it's not going to stop because you don't know when the next vulnerability will be found, and then an attacker will be able to lock or steal money from that contract. So safety and security of smart contracts is very, very important, especially because there's a lot of money involved in this system. And the other point is that smart contracts are immutable. I mean, blockchains are immutable. So once you deploy a smart contract, you cannot change it, unlike existing, normal software infrastructure that we have. So now let us step back a little bit and try and understand why we see these incidents happening with smart contracts. So the first part is complexity. So smart contracts, for those who are familiar with coding, it's very similar to, let's say, any program that you would write in any language, let's say C, Java, or Python. So they do a bunch of things. The first thing is that they do mathematical computations. So they could do additions, multiplications, or divisions, for instance. So that's the first part. The second part is that they manipulate a state. So for instance, let's say you are involved in an ICO contract, and that ICO contract will then maintain a map between which user contributed how much amount of money. And this contract will manipulate the state of the system when users interact with that contract. So when a new user wants to buy a token, the map will be updated accordingly. The third part is that, which is very crucial, is that a smart contract can actually talk to other smart contracts. So smart contracts in general give you a very wide range of features, and that allows people to build very interesting and real-world use applications on blockchains. But the problem is the following. When you have these many features, how do you use it? How do you run those smart contracts in an environment? And the problem is that smart contracts are run in a very malicious and Byzantine environment. And that's the main problem. Now, what do I mean by Byzantine environment? So let's say you have a smart contract sitting on a blockchain. Then a user like me or you who wants to interact with the blockchain can be malicious. So you may want to trick the smart contract and try to steal money from that contract. A miner who is maintaining the entire infrastructure could be malicious as well. The worst part is that when you are talking to a smart contract, that smart contract can itself be malicious. So now imagine all these features and all these features of smart contract being run in an environment like this, where you as a user or you as a developer, when you write a smart contract, for you it's very hard to know what your contract is going to be, how your contract is going to behave when it actually runs on an infrastructure like this. So for a developer, it's easy for you to say that my contract is going to do this, this, and this, but it's very hard to predict that your contract is not going to do certain things. It's very, very hard, because you cannot predict what's going to happen when you put that contract on a blockchain. So in general, because of all of this, it becomes very hard for a developer to give very strong guarantees about the safety of your contract. And so there are no, there's a big lack of formal verification around smart contracts. And we felt that these are good enough reasons to build and design a better and safer smart contract language that we call Zilliqa. So Zilliqa has been designed and structured in a way that it's simpler for developers to code in, and it would be, it can eliminate certain bugs, at the very language level, and beyond that, it gives you good infrastructure to actually give formal guarantees about the correctness and safety of your contract. So here is an example of Kickstarter contract, fragments of that contract written in Zilliqa. So for those who are not familiar with Kickstarter, the idea is that let's say you have a very cool idea of building a software product, but you don't have money to finance and fund that project. What you could do is you could ask the crowd and the public to fund that project for you. So I will have this contract which will have three parameters. One is the owner, so this is the person who's going to receive money from the crowd. Then I will have a deadline. So deadline is the deadline before which everyone has to send money to the contract. And there's a goal, which means that I want to raise this amount of money. So if I'm not able to raise this much amount of money before this deadline, then I would say that my contract or my campaign has failed. And in that case, I'm going to refund money to the users who have contributed to this crowdfunding contract. So in order to maintain the state of the system, I will have a map, which is going to map which user contributed how much amount of money. And then I will have a simple flag that says whether my campaign has been successful or not. And this contract will give three functions or three interfaces for users to interact with. The first one is the donate, which allows users to put money in the donate money to this crowdfunding campaign. The second one is get funds, which allows the owner to take money. So when you send the money, the owner will collect that money. And this function can only be invoked by the owner. Then I have the last function, which is claim back, which can be invoked by any user, but it will work only when the campaign has failed. So if the contract has failed to raise enough money within the deadline, then only you can actually take back money. So here's the interface of the Kickstarter contract written in Zilliqa. Now let me take you to a demo and to show Zilliqa and this Kickstarter contract in action. So on my left is on my left panel, this is the Zilliqa contract. This one is the interface, and here is the block explorer that allows you to connect and check what's happening with the backend blockchain. So I have my functions written over here. So I have my get funds here. I have my claim back function, which allows users to claim money back from the contract. And then I have my three parameters over here. So right now we are on third block. We are going to set the parameters. Max block is the deadline. So we have set the deadline to be 20, and our goal is 500 zills. So the contract has been deployed. Here's the transaction ID. And we are going to wait until this transaction gets confirmed. And for that, we'll go and check here. Now the transaction has been confirmed, and now our contract has been deployed on Zilliqa network. So here's the contract address, which corresponds to this transaction that we had. And now we are going to invoke, now we are going to check the state of the system, the state of the contract. So for now, our contract has zero balance because no one has contributed any money to it. So now we are going to start donations. So here's the first user, which calls the donate function with a value of 100. So he's donating 100 zills to this contract. So the contract has been called, and the transaction has been created, and it has gone to the network. Now we are waiting for that transaction to be confirmed, which will happen in a second. Now the transaction has been confirmed. So the donation has been successful. To check that, we are going to check the state of the contract. So here is the user address, and here's the value. So the state of the system has been updated. So a user has successfully, and now here's the balance. So 100 zills have been added to contract's account. Now we are going to give another donation because we are pretty generous. Here is the second user who wants to contribute, let's say, 200 zills. We do the same process like back again, and we call the transaction. So now we have created the transaction, and again we are going to wait for that transaction to be confirmed, which should happen right now. So the transaction has been confirmed, and donate call has been successful. Now let's check back again the state of the system. So now we have two users, one who has contributed 200 zills, and the other one with 100 zills. And the total balance has now gone up to 300. So both the donations have been successful. Okay, fine. Now let's start with by invoking other functions. So the function that we're trying to do is claim back. So a user has contributed $100 or 200 zills to it, but now he's no longer interested in putting the money there. So he wants to claim that money back. But the problem is that the deadline has not been passed. So deadline was 20. Now we are at 12 blocks. So this claim back should fail. So I have created my transaction and waiting for that transaction to be confirmed, which, okay, the callback has been successful. The transaction has been validated in the Explorer. And now we are going to check whether this invocation was successful or not. It should not be, because the deadline has not passed. Okay, so you have your money intact. The account balance of the contract is still 300, so that invocation failed. Okay, fine. So bad luck. Let's start with now the block, transaction block has reached to 221, which means that the deadline has passed indeed. Now let's try to do, let's allow the owner to claim the money. This should fail because my goal was 500. I have only received 300 until now. So I'm not allowed to take that money. So again, I'm calling the get function and created the transaction. I will wait for that transaction again on the Explorer side, which is there. No, not yet. Okay, so this call get funds has been successful. The transaction has been created. But let's check the state of the system, whether the owner was able to take out money or not. He should not be because the contract has not been able to receive enough, has not been able to reach the goal. So the balance is still 300 in the contract, so the money has not gone out. Fine. So okay, these are all things that are failing. Let's do something which works, which is now the deadline has passed. The goal has not been reached, which means that users who have contributed can take their money back. So we are going to do the same thing. So here's a user who wants his money back. He's no more interested in this campaign. So here is my user asking for his refund. So the user had 200 zills there, and he's asking for a refund now. So he created a transaction, and now that transaction should appear again here, which is right here. And now we'll check the state of the system back again. And we should accept that. Okay, so now previously we had 2 addresses here. Now the address has reduced to 1, and the balance has reduced to 100. So the claim was indeed successful. Okay, so that's all for this part of Zilla, which shows that how Zilla works, and it is being implemented, and it works in a setting that we have right now. Let's move to the second part. So I tried to convince you earlier that Zilla has been designed as a safe smart contract language, which could eliminate certain bugs that we know. For instance, Zilla could eliminate bugs like DAO at the language level. But beyond that, let's say you are interacting, you as a user, are trying to interact with this Kickstarter contract. What are the properties that you want from the contract to give you? First is that when you contribute money, you want to ensure that if ever, you want to ensure that the contract will not leak money to other contracts, for instance. So this is essentially the DAO hack. So you want to ensure that the money stays there and doesn't get stolen by other people. The other property that you may want as a user is that if you contributed, let's say $100, 100 zills in this campaign, you don't want the mapping to be manipulated and this 100 reduced to 50, for instance. You don't want that to happen. So you want to ensure that the contract will never alter the record that it maintains. And the third part is about getting the money back, because that's the most crucial part. You don't want a situation where you contributed $100 and you're only getting $50 back. So these are the properties that you'd want from a Kickstarter contract like this one. And we tried to prove that our Kickstarter contract can actually prove that these properties are valid. And for that, we use a theorem prover called COC, which is a state-of-the-art tool to prove interesting properties about programs. So let me take you through COC and how we have proved these properties and how they look like. So the second part of Zilla. So the first part would be where we show how we have modeled the Kickstarter contract that we have in this tool called COC. Okay, so here is the COC part. So a bunch of definitions to ensure that we have all the necessary tools available. And then here is the modeling of the donate function, for instance, the get fund and claim functions. And then we will have our proof part. So here's the proof of the first part, which says that you won't have a contract will not alter records. Then the second lemma, which proves that the contract will always have enough funds and balance to refund users. So here are the proof. Now we are going to check whether the proof that we have done is actually correct or not. So let's validate the proofs that we have. And that's pretty simple. It's just a click away. We keep on clicking. And now you just have to look out here. If you have no more sub-goals, which means that the proof is valid. So there's no goal to be proved. So we go through all these proofs that we have done and check whether the proofs that we have done are valid or not. And for sure, they're going to be valid because we have done that check anyway. So the proofs are going to be valid. Here is the, okay, we'll start with the lemma one very soon. Okay, so here is the first lemma that we wanted to prove about the contribution records. And it should go as expected. It should prove that the proof that we have done is actually valid. We'll go through all these lemmas one by one, just to ensure that we haven't missed any proof and that all our proofs are correct. And it should end in a few seconds. Okay, so now we have no more sub-goals. All the proofs that we have done for the 3 lemmas are correct. Now let's do the funny part, which is introduce bugs in the contract. So let's do the first bug, which is here. Now, user wanted to, let's say, donate M zills. Now we are replacing it with 0 zills. Now the contract will actually won't have enough funds to refund that person. So one of the proofs will fail. So let's check these proofs one by one again to check whether which of the proof will fail. So the first proof will pass. We'll check the next one, which is each contributor will be refunded the right amount. That will pass as well. Is the last one that will fail, because this time the contract will not have enough balance because it has malhandled it. So here's an error for you, which shows that the proof is no longer valid. Okay, so that's not going to be the only bug. Let's try another one. So we'll fix that bug first. We don't want the contract to be too buggy. So the first bug has been fixed. Now let's introduce the next bug, but not in the same function, but in the claim function, which is very crucial for users who want to claim their money back. So here what we're trying to do is to reduce the entire map to one single user. So I'm going to collapse the entire map to one single mapping between one user and one balance. So of course, now the contract map has been manipulated, and one of the proofs will fail. Okay, so the proof has failed because the contract has altered its contribution records. Now let's go to the last one, which is the final bug that we have. So let's fix the bug first and introduce a new one, which is now I'm going to send a wrong value. So I'm not going to send the amount that you deserve, but I'm going to send a 0 amount to you when you claim back. And again, we'll try to check all the proofs one by one. Some of them will pass because those proofs don't get touched with this change. So the contract will not alter its contribution record. It passes because we didn't manipulate that bet. This one will fail because the contributor will not be refunded the right amount this time. And here we go. So it shows that if you try to introduce bugs into the contract, the proofs will fail, and hence you can ensure that your contract will remain safe. That's it. Thank you so much for your attention. Now we can take a few questions.
Thank you, everyone. So it's a long talk. Any questions? It can be anything about the technology, anything about the business development, or any thoughts, any suggestions you may have.
Well, everything was going at a very fast pace. So just a question about this new smart contract. So what you showed, is it the developer has to write the proofs in the code? Something like a test-driven development?
No, we will have template proofs for you to use. So you don't have to write proofs. So let's say you do an ICO for some reasons. Then if you use the, let's say, ERC20 kind of template, then we will have proofs that go with that. And you can ensure that all these properties are verified. So you as a user developer may not need to write Coq proofs.
So you're saying fixed cases?
I mean, if you are qualified in Coq, you are very welcome to write proofs in Coq. But we also have helper libraries that can help you write those proofs for you.
Okay, so basically it's what? Test or proof-driven development. Is that correct?
It's more like you develop and then you have a proof, and that proof can go along with your smart contract.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Seriously.
Seriously.
I think I just want to clarify. I think the proofs are an debugging aid. Just like with Cork, you can skip a proof and say, just believe me that the proof is true. So just to clarify, I think you can skip the proof part if that's necessary.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
You know, this Zilla, the new language, right? The smart contract. If you compare to the existing, the Ethereum, Solidity, what are the main advantage? You know, and also I understand that the Vitalik is writing a new language, like Viper.
Viper, yeah.
Are you aware of that?
Yeah, we are aware of Viper and many other languages that Ethereum is working on, including Babbage. And, okay, there's another one. It just doesn't come to my head. Yeah, so Solidity allows you to make mistakes. For instance, if you know how DAO hack happened, the problem was that you changed the state of the system after sending the money. Okay, so that was the idea, and that's not a good design principle when you write smart contracts. So Solidity, I mean, if you want to prevent those kind of bugs, what you can suggest to developers is to have a security guideline, and you expect them to follow those guidelines, which may not happen, right? Because developers sometimes they don't look at those, they don't check those security guidelines. What Zilla can do is that it can enforce those security guidelines at the language level, and hence can eliminate all those bugs, at natively. And then you can have, because the language has been structured in a very decent manner that allows you to write proofs about the contract in a simpler way.
Can I also say that is it easy to use easy to learn your language? I mean, compared to
okay, so the basic language that we have, the Zilla, is we believe that it is going to be an intermediate level language. I mean, I don't know if you had time to look at that. It's similar to, it's a mix of Solidity and OCaml or any functional programming that you can think of. But we don't expect developers to directly write in that language. We are going to build higher level language that's going to sit on top of Zilla, and then we'll have compilers that's going to take those contracts and compile it to Zilla. And that higher level language can have a syntactic similarity with Solidity and existing smart contract languages. So we don't expect developers to learn a new language and try to minimize the learning curve as much as we can.
Sorry, okay. One question is regarding for the application development. So let's say if we want to develop all the application on top of Zilliqa, so what is the language we can use, okay? And also, what is there SDK or just available tools for the developer to working on? Because right now, we understand it's still under the testnet.
So we do understand the importance of dev tools. We do understand the importance of dev tools because if you don't have dev tools, no one is going to build anything on the platform. But yes, as you said, it's still in the early stage. We do have plans to have all those accompanying tools that will go with the language. And we will expect that our community will help us as well in developing some of those tools.
Okay. So one more question. I think, do you have going to launch airdrop after your mainnet has been launched? Yeah.
I'll let Shinshu answer this question.
Probably not.
Probably, okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi. I just want to understand, do you have a gas mechanics similar to Ethereum? I mean, or is it different? I mean,
Yes, so we would have a gas mechanism similar to Ethereum, which would allow you to run smart contracts and not DOS it. The other aspect that we're working on at the language level is to ensure that, the question that we're raising right now is, can we actually have a gas mechanism directly at the level of Zilla, not at the bytecode level that Ethereum has? So it's still an open question that we're looking into and see if we can actually have that mechanism right on Zilla level than on bytecode. So yes, in short, yes, we will have gas mechanisms, but the question is whether it will be, we are still working out.
Any other questions?
Before we, okay. So back to the smart contract, how does a third party audit the smart contract? Do you have the source code on the system, or is there an easy way to audit?
Audit, or you said update? I'm sorry.
Audit. Audit the smart contract.
So the smart contract, so our plan is that the Zilliqa contract, I mean, when you write a contract, you could write in either directly in Zilliqa or in a higher level language. What will happen is that either it will compile down to Zilliqa or you will have native Zilliqa. And the contract code that goes to the blockchain will most probably be Zilliqa. So it's not going to be the bytecode level language that goes to Ethereum blockchain right now. So it's going to be easier for anyone to actually check the code that's on the blockchain and audit it.
You mean the one on the blockchain will be source?
I didn't catch
It'll be source code, right? The one on the blockchain
yes,
is
yes,
source
the
code.
source code, yes.
Okay.
There are trade-offs in doing that, but we feel that if you want to audit it, it's better to have the source code directly on the blockchain.
Thank you.
Do we have one last question? Please.
Hey, you mentioned that Zilliqa is not a Turing-complete language, and I wanted to ask what's the rationale behind this design decision? Is it because you wanted to make it easily formally verifiable, or is it just a nice side effect and the reasoning was different?
Okay, so the initial design was the initial idea was not to make it Turing complete per se, but it ended up being non-Turing complete. The only bit that is missing is the loops. That's the only part that you won't have. So you won't have infinite loops that you can write in Zilliqa, in Solidity. You won't be able to do that in Zilliqa. That's the only part that's missing. So in terms of expressiveness, is almost as expressive as Solidity for that matter. So if you're looking at any application that you can think of right now on Ethereum blockchain, you could actually write the same contract in Zilliqa as well. So you don't lose that much in expressivity. And because of certain things, you could eliminate reentrancy at the language level directly.
Okay, I think we can move on.
Yeah, thank you so much for your questions. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for the questions. So if you were registering earlier, we announced that there was going to be a contest. This contest is really about, how many cities which actually been to and actually visited. So I'm really sorry, but it's only available to people that are here physically and not those, on the live stream. As Yao Qi mentioned earlier, experiments are very, very expensive. And in order to actually test a very large-scale blockchain, what we actually do is, for nodes, we actually use AWS, Amazon Web Services instances. And, we are extremely large users of Amazon Web Services. So we have a very special guest with us. So Lillian from Amazon Web Services, she'll be here to actually give away the prizes to the winner of the contest. So can I have Lillian up on stage, please? Yes, so I'm just going to invite Lillian to share a little bit with us on Zilliqa and how we actually got on her radar at AWS.
Thanks, Enhui. Hi, everyone. My name is Lillian. I lead the fintech practice at AWS across Singapore and the region. So I've been working with Zilliqa since they started testing last year. How I came across them was they actually hit some of our infrastructure capacity limits in some of our regions. So when you talk about the number of nodes that they're running and the scale that they're actually quite a big customer of ours. I had to work with the tech team to understand their requirements around the scale and exactly how big they were so that I could communicate that back to our service teams and make sure that we had enough capacity to run Zilliqa. So that was the first time in my 3 years at AWS that I've actually had to knock on the doors of our service teams and ask for more boxes. The second thing that we talked about was security. So at AWS, that's job zero for us. And of course, at Zilliqa being one of the most secure blockchain platforms, it's extremely important to them as well. And so one of the first meetings that we had was with our security specialists in ASEAN to make sure that the blockchain is secure for you guys. And as we build out our services at AWS, blockchain is something that we're definitely investing in. We now have templates that you can run blockchains on top of AWS. So I actually have as a prize to the contest a $250 prize for AWS credits. So feel free to use those credits towards spinning up more blockchain nodes.
Okay, so we have collated the submissions to the quiz answers, and do I have Ernest Ng at the venue? Yes. So if you can leave your details later, Lillian will arrange for the credits to be passed to you. Sorry, and this is actually a token of appreciation if we could just, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Lillian. So we have a number of other people who guessed very close. So, we've actually been in the last few months since we've actually started the project to a lot of different cities. And so the correct answer is actually it's 17 cities. And we have a number of people here today at the venue that guessed very, very close to this answer. So if I have Jaffet Lim at the venue. Yeah, since we're going to have a Sinshu giveaway, limited edition Zilliqa premiums. Thank you. Next, Ewin Soon. Ewin Soon. Are you at the venue? Okay, I guess not. Victor. No. Next one, Jerry Zhang. Okay, so if your name has been called and you didn't manage to actually collect it, please come up to us later. We'll be happy to hand the prizes to you. Oh, okay, there we have it. Thank you for participating. Kartat, if you're at the venue. Okay, Gloria So. Thank you. Jason Ree. And this person didn't write his last name. His name is Nicholas, so if you're Nicholas as well. Oh, okay, the last 4 digits is a local number. It's 5888. No, okay, so Nicholas, if you're here, please come up to get your prize later. Okay, one more. MT Liu. No. Okay, congratulations. Thank you. So this concludes the Zilliqa meetup on the 23rd of May. We hope you have enjoyed yourselves. And there's going to be networking outside, so please feel free to stay to mingle with the crowd. The team will be around to answer any other questions that you have. So we also have the rest of our team, the tech team, marketing, as well as a lot of other community members around today. So please feel free to stay and mingle. And thank you very much, everybody, for coming to the Zilliqa meetup today. We hope you enjoy yourself. Thank you.
you.